Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 2nd chapter, text number 35. Ajamil delivered by the Vishnudutas. So, aham tata yatayishyami yata chitendriyani laha yataha na bhuya atmanam andhe tamasi majjaye soham tata yatishyami soham tata yatishyami yata chitendriyani laha yata chitendriyani laha yata nabhuya atmanam yata nabhuya atmanam andhe tamasi majjaye andhe tamasi majjaye soham tata yatishyami yata chitendriyani laha yata nabhuya atmanam andhe tamasi majjaye. Ladies. Chitendriyani laha Saha, such a person. Aham, I. Tata, in that way. Yatayishyami, I shall endeavor. Yatachitta indriya, controlling the mind and senses. Anilaha, and the internal airs. Yata, so that. Na, not. Bhuyaha, again. Atmanam, my soul. Andhe, in darkness. Tamasi, in ignorance. Majjaye, I drown. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. I am such a sinful person, but since I have now gotten this opportunity, I must completely control my mind, life, and senses, and always engage in devotional service, so that I may not fall again into the deep darkness and ignorance of material life. Purport. Every one of us should have this determination. We have been elevated to an exalted position by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master. And if we remember that this is a great opportunity and pray to Krishna that we will not fall again, our lives will be successful. Soham tata yatishyami yata chaitindriyani laha yata nabhuya atmana mande tamasi majjaye. I'm such a sinful person, but since I've now gotten this opportunity, I must completely control my mind, life, and senses, and always engage in devotional service, so that I may not fall again into the deep darkness and ignorance of material life. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamhayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripadam aham vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. We're very grateful and fortunate to be sitting here at the lotus feet of Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Radha Shama Sundar Lalita Vaishakar, Srila Prabhupada, in this auspicious months of Kartik in Sri Vrindavan Dham. We beg for the mercy of all the assembled Vaishnavas, especially our revered seniors, as many of them. Ajamil is having a sharing of his heart, and it is very refreshing and it is very sobering for all of us to see this. It proves to each and every one of us that as aspiring devotees, we have a chance to have different lives, like different phases of life. Ajamil had different phases of life when he was a youth, then later on when he swayed from his way, and then when he came to his senses, and now he's about to embark. He's about to join the Hare Krishna movement. He has made up his mind, I'm going to do this, and there's nobody and no one going to stop me, especially not my own uncontrolled mind and senses. So it is a very crucial point. I'm sure most of you remember the point when you've made up your mind that you wanted to join the Hare Krishna movement. It was quite a crucial moment in your life. So it proves to us that every person can have different lives. We know of the different lives of Maharaj Bharat. He also went through different stages. So, he is here glorifying the holy name of Krishna and saying that simply because of his good fortune of chanting the holy name and of a moments of association of the Vaishnavas, the Vishnudutas, he has gotten this great opportunity. So he felt himself very fortunate. And now he is praying. Now what does a prayer consist of? A prayer usually consists of an expression of humility. I am so wretched. I'm so fallen. I'm so undeserving. And this can only come about if there is a sense of introspection and a sense of gratitude. Otherwise, this humility cannot arouse in our hearts. So Ajamil is reflecting on his own previous fallen state, and then he is glorifying the Lord and the Lord's magnitude, the Lord's mercy, the Lord's kindness, how kindly he has appeared through the holy name and through the association of the Vaishnavas. And then in a prayer, there is always a request. There is always begging. There is always, I need something. There has to be a need. If there is no real need, then it is not a real prayer. Srila Prabhupada said we should chant Hare Krishna like the child crying for the mother. Now there's a real need, but every mother, and nowadays also every father, knows that there's different types of crying. There's the crying of the child just crying for attention, or just crying to nag, or crying just because they're bored, they got nothing else to do, so they're just whining around. But then, they go in different ways, and I'm not going to imitate all these different types of crying. I'm sure you've had your own share of experience, but then there's one type of crying which really jolts the parents, and they immediately jump into action. Like, wah! It's like, like, I'm not very good at imitating the crying of the child, but I'm sure you've heard some of those cries. Huh? It's like when somebody's cell phone goes off, and immediately they jump up and they run out. That type of crying, but just magnified in a much bigger way. Something much more existential is about to happen. So if we have that type of crying when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then Krishna immediately he will pay attention. Now Krishna is begging us, you please come back to me. He's saying over and over, please come back to me. Don't hang around in the material world. It's not a good place. Brahmande Brahmite, Kona Bhagavana Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai, Bhakti Lata Bij. We have been wandering in the material world for quite a while, going through the 8,400,000 species, having different types of experiences, and all of a sudden, we have become Bhagyavan. We have become extremely fortunate. How come? How come all of a sudden this good fortune can arise? I don't know about you, but if I introspect in my own conscious recalling of my own life, I don't see that there was even an understanding of what the word piety meant. Now, I know some of you come from pious cultures, but I did not know what is pious, what is impious, what is to be done, what is not to be done. The only thing that I can recall that was of any value was that I would take care in the summers in the Swiss mountains, I would take care of cows. That's the only good thing I ever did. So maybe because of that. But actually, it is because a devotee bestowed his mercy upon us. That is why we're here. We're all sitting here today because Srila Prabhupada begged. He begged, he pleaded with Krishna on our behalf. And he made the process very easy. He made it very accessible. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada states something very interesting. He says that the Krishna consciousness movement cannot spread if we have a smarta mentality. What does smarta mentality mean? That's just nagging. That's not existential cry. What does smarta mentality mean? It means it's a sense of entitlement. I deserve. I have a certain birth. I have a certain upbringing. I have a certain position, a certain title. Therefore, the world owes me. And therefore, I will do anything it takes and exploit this situation to the best of my ability. Srila Prabhupada is saying that this stops the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement. And we can see in our own lives that as soon as an entitlement mentality creeps in in whatever scale we are, whether it's our place in the temple room that has become threatened by some intruder, or it's our spot in the line or in the hierarchy, or whatever it is that we may feel we have an entitlement to, that I'm a disciple of such and such, and therefore somebody owes me because I have made deposits, and now I want to gain and reap the rewards. This will stop the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement. If we look around here, we have a lot of persons from our Slavic background and a lot of persons from our Indian background. When I was here some 30-something years ago, we had mostly Americans and Europeans. Now you can count them on two hands, those who are here in the temple room. Why? We should be introspective. We should ask ourselves, why? Why has this happened? And what can we do to change it? Just like Ajamil, he's analyzing his situation. And he is trying to find out, what can I do to change this situation? Because, as he says, I do not want to fall again into the deep darkness and ignorance of material life. Tamasima Jyotirgama, to come out of the darkness and to come into the light. We are praying to the spiritual master to enlighten us, to give us this Dibya Gyan, to open our darkened eyes with the transcendental knowledge, to be our guiding light. But in order to connect to Srila Prabhupada's teachings, we also are required to develop this humble mentality of praying, having a prayerful mood, a prayerful attitude, to beg. Now Srila Prabhupada himself, he was begging and pleading to Krishna on our behalf. And he made so many concessions just to accommodate people like me. Because otherwise, no hope, no chance. So when we're trying to share Krishna consciousness with others, when we're trying to practice Krishna consciousness, when we're in front of their lordships, and we are making our prayers, are we asking for things? Or are we asking for, as it is stated here, for a great opportunity? What are we begging for? A person who is begging for things is not very much respected in this world. Like you can see, there's so many beggars all around the world, and usually they're not much revered. They're not much honored or appreciated. But in our tradition, we're also beggars. Tridandi Bhikshu. We're also begging, but what is the Vaishnav begging for? He's not begging on his own behalf. The Vaishnava is begging on behalf of the living entities. Just like Prahlad Maharaj. He's praying that for me there is no problem. But when I see the suffering of the living entities, then I feel their plight and my heart pains. That is the prayer of Prahlad Maharaj. That is the prayer of Vasudev Datta. That is the prayer of Srila Prabhupada. How to help these people. So I don't know about you, but for myself, when I'm in front of the deities, sometimes I'm at a loss of words. Now one thing is just to appreciate the Lord's beauty. Okay, Radhishyam, you look amazing. Like, have you seen this crown? This special, you know? It's like a peacock. It's like many things. It's just amazing. So to just appreciate the Lord's beauty, that is one way of communicating with the Lord and offering prayers from the previous acharyas. But what I found personally, what really works for me is, Hare Krishna, is to pray on others' behalf. Because I feel very privileged. I have a few personalities that have heavily invested into me. They have given me practically unlimited credit. So I feel that as a beggar, I feel very privileged. And I feel quite inclined to share these blessings that I have received with whoever I meet. Now you might say, how can a beggar be generous? How is that possible? Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. When Krishna wanted to taste the intimate love of his devotee for himself, he appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he came to give what no other incarnation has given before: pure love of Godhead, unalloyed, pure devotional service. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and went to South India, he gave what he even did not give in Navadvip. Because many of the students, many of the people in Navadvip were a little proud. They were a little arrogant. So they did not appreciate him fully. So he left behind his comfortable situation. And he took sannyas and he traveled in South India. Etang sastaya paratmanishtam adhyasita purvatamar maharshibi aham tarishyami duranta param tamo mukundangrini sevayaivad. Now Srila Prabhupada says that it's not the dress that is sannyas, it's not the position, but it's the spirit of fully taking shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas who have done the same and sharing that with others. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when we see his Jai Shri Shri Gaunitai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Radha Shyama Sundar Ki, when we see how he interacted with his devotees, it is very interesting. Rupa and Sanatan were writing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu many letters, and they were begging him, but there was seemingly no response. Have you ever been in a situation that you were begging the Lord, but there was seemingly no response? Has this ever happened to you? Or is it just me? And then the response, as we heard from Badahari Pras Prabhu, that then the response comes in a completely different way that you don't expect. Like Rupa and Sanatan got this response from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which was quite esoteric, quite incomprehensible from a mundane point of view. Then when they finally met him, they took straws, clumps of straw between their teeth, and they showed extreme signs of humility. Now they were Lokamandalapati, they were great rulers, they were home and they were ministers in the government. But they showed extreme humility before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted them in his service, and he appreciated, he embraced them, and he showered his affection upon them. And then they asked the Lord for something. What did they ask him for? They said, and by the way, please don't go to Vrindavan with so many people. Now, isn't that like a seeming contradiction? A moment ago, they were just saying we're the most fallen, we're the most wretched, we're the most... And now they're saying the Lord, but please don't go to Vrindavan with all these hundreds of thousands of people, you know. It will not be good. Where there is humility, there can be intimacy. Where there is a service attitude, there can be intimacy. Otherwise, there is no intimacy. So if we want intimacy with Srila Prabhupada, if we want intimacy with our spiritual masters, we have to develop this service attitude. And this mood, this mentality of praying for others, of trying to help others. When Srila Prabhupada met Brahmananda and Gargamuni Prabhu's mother, he asked her for a donation. And she said, I've already given you 2 sons, that's enough. And Srila Prabhupada said, thank you very much. But you know, I'm a sannyasi, so I'm supposed to beg. I have to beg. It's my duty to ask you. Huh? But she did not take it in a bad way, you see. Because if our attitude is an attitude that we're not wanting something for ourselves, but we're actually asking to give that person an opportunity. You see? The begging of a Vaishnav is to give that person the opportunity to engage in devotional service. In February, I was allowed to be part of a team of about 12 devotees who were friends up in Rishikesh, and we were chanting Hare Krishna near Lakshman Jula and distributing Prabhupada's books. And there was one beggar sitting on the stairs just below German Bakery, for those of you who have been up there. And he was watching us, and he became so enraptured, so enchanted by the kirtan, that he gave up his begging and he joined us. And he jumped into the kirtan, chanting and dancing, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. And he was dancing wildly. And then he got so exuberant that he took out all his donations from his pocket. And he had a big wad. There's no more coins these days, as you know. 10 rupee minimum, right? In some places 20, because 10 doesn't give you any proper food. So, big wad of rupee notes. So he started taking these notes and putting them into the pockets of the devotees. And he was going on and on and on. So how come you dare to beg from beggars? Some people might say, how can you take his money? We're not taking his money. We are sharing the opportunity to engage in devotional service. That is what Srila Prabhupada has given us. That is the gift that Prabhupada has given us. But in order to do that, we're trying to cultivate humility. And I know from personal experience, it is not an easy task. Huh? But if we want Krishna's grace, if we want Prabhupada's mercy, then we have to beg. There is simply no other way. Huh? So how to control the mind and the senses? Huh? Through the yoga process, not a very good proposition. Through the study of scriptures, not such a good proposition in this day and age. Huh? But this process of Bhakti Yoga, of Harinam Sankirtan, is a very good proposition to control the mind and the senses. Because when we engage the mind and the senses and our life air, each and every ounce of energy of blood that we have in the service of the Lord and His preaching mission, then we invoke the blessing of the Lord. And in this way, to control the mind and the senses becomes seemingly like child's play. Becomes very easy, which otherwise would have been practically impossible. Now, in this verse, it speaks about determination. Srila Prabhupada says in the book Path to Perfection that determination in a material sense is something very mechanical and very artificial. I'm sure you know many people who are quite determined for so many things. Huh? But as long as we are determined for material things, which are related to eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, this determination is not very praiseworthy. It's not very glorifiable. Huh? But when a person becomes determined to advance in devotional service, that is something very remarkable. Just like Ajamil, he made up his mind. He became determined. I want to perfect my life and part with my old ways and attain the supreme destination. Just a few days ago, we're taking a rickshaw here in Vrindavan, and we're bargaining with the rickshaw driver about the price. And finally we settled. We drove to our destination. Meanwhile, while we're driving, we're talking to him about his life and where he lives and where he's from and so on. And as we arrived, you know, you always have to carry books in your pocket. Are you doing this? How many of you carry books in your pockets? Okay, that's 5 people out of 150, okay? Please, get books, all right? This very inexpensive. You can get anywhere. Carry in your pocket. So that you have something to give. So at the end of the journey, when we reached our destination, we paid the fare. Then I took out the book and I gave it to him. And he became very happy. And then I said, Danapatra, please give a donation. And he took the fare that he had earnestly acquired, and he gave it as a donation. And he was very happy, because we had given him the opportunity. We had given him the opportunity to be generous, you see? Because he doesn't feel I'm a rickshawala. He doesn't feel I'm a person of a lower type of environment. He wants to be generous. So it is the devotee's duty to allow people to show their generosity. That is our dharma. I'll make one more point and then we'll ask for reflections. I was distributing books in Sydney, Australia, in front of City Hall, and I met 3 girls. They were teenage girls. They all look kind of similar, so I asked them, do you know each other? They said, yeah, we're sisters. I said, oh, where are you from? They said, we're from Kabul, Afghanistan. So I said, oh, very nice, you know? Allah Akbar. Yeah, you got to appreciate people. I asked them, so are you doing Ramadan? And they say, yes. This is very good. You know, what are these bags of groceries? They were carrying bags of groceries. They said, we are going to feed the homeless people. We're fasting, but we're going to feed the homeless people. Now, if you're a teenage girl from Kabul, Afghanistan, you're not amongst the elite in this world. You're not going to hit the Fortune 500. You're not going to be one of the... They're probably refugees. But because they had something to give, they were empowered. They truly were effulgent because they were in a generous mood. Now you might say that's in a material example, you know, why are you bringing up all these contemporary stuff? You should just speak Bhagavatam. You have to see the connection, you see. Huh? So I showed them Prabhupada's books, and I said, you know, you're from Afghanistan, this is, you know, the ancient wisdom from India, from the Vedas, from Sanskrit. Have you heard of that? And they said, yeah, we watch Indian movies all the time. We love the music, we love the dance, we love the clothes, we love the food, we love it all. Okay, same, okay? Same. And I showed them the books. Then I asked them, would you kindly please like to make a donation? And they said, yes, of course. Because they got the opportunity to show that they're generous. So they gave and they took the books. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America, in the beginning, initially, he thought nobody was ready to take. People, he thought, they're not very inclined. They're too busy doing whatever they're doing. Huh? But still, Prabhupada was making his propositions. He asked Robert Nelson, would you like me to cook for you? Can you imagine? Prabhupada asks you, would you like me to cook for you? And then he takes you to the grocery store for boga shopping. Then he cooks for you. Then he feeds you. Then he takes a nap. He says, okay, now we lie down on the side. You know, that's the way how, huh? That's what Prabhupada did. So, if we want to get Krishna's mercy, if we want to get Guru's mercy, we need to beg. But not on our own behalf. Not in an insecure way. Not with a sense of entitlement. Oh, somebody owes me. I've been here long enough. I own this place, or at least this chair. Huh? I own this spot here. You're standing in my spot, okay? Move. How will Krishna show his kindness? He will not, because he's not impressed by that. And you can take that up all the way to Indra. Yesterday we had Govardhan Puja. I'm sure you heard the story, the example like that. You can say, this is my zone. You can say, this is my temple. This is my disciple. This is all smarta mentality. This is all insecure entitlement mentality. And it kills bhakti, and it scares away any person who is sensible, who is sensitive, who is intelligent. It scares them away. So to give up pretentiousness is not an easy process for a person like myself who has been privileged. But when we understand that we have been lost, what we consider material qualifications are actually disqualifications. Janmaishwarya, Shruta, Shribir, Edamana, Madak, Puman. A person who has become maddened, who has become intoxicated by these things. Very hard for such people to actually appreciate Krishna consciousness. So because of Srila Prabhupada's begging, because of his pleading, we're all fortunately allowed to sit here today as brothers and sisters. And we should make plans. Where are those devotees of the 60s, 70s, and 80s? Where are they? Can we get some of them back? Huh? Is it possible? Can we go back to them and ask them, I'm sorry, you know? Maybe it's not me who wronged you, but something went wrong. I want you to come back. I miss you. That's all it takes. I've seen it with dozens of my God brothers. That's all it takes. One person who comes back and says, I'm sorry, I know a few things went wrong, but I miss you, and I would like you to be back. Then it will say, hey, you know, I'm appreciated. They'll start again to be generous. They'll again show their gratitude. So, the Krishna consciousness movement is not stereotype, and it is not stagnant. It is something very attractive, something very special, something extraordinary. And Krishna himself, he appears as a beggar, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he begs us. He says, Yarede ketarikaha Krishna upadesh, Amara gyan guruhana tarayedesh. On my order, you all become spiritual masters. And you share this message of Krishna consciousness with everybody that you meet. That is Mahaprabhu's plea. So let us take this order on our heads and unite as a family, not having these silly, petty, sandbox considerations that will create division and divisiveness in our lives. Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles, he said, kindly help me. This is my request. Print and distribute as many books as possible and spread Krishna consciousness all throughout the world. These are Prabhupada's words. You should study these words and see what impact do they have on our lives. What can we do? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, every day knock on 5 doors. Means talk to 5 new people. Can we do that? Is there 5 new people every day in our lives? Or do I revert back into my bubble? Oh, I got so many friends, okay? So many people on Facebook and so many people around me and so much in family, and I don't need to deal with more people. I have enough people. after class, giving class in Sydney, one devotee walked up to me and said, "Prabhu, can I follow you?" And I was like, "Follow me on Facebook?" I said, no, I don't have Facebook and I don't want somebody who follows me. So please don't. By the way, I'm also lost, okay? So you better follow Prabhupada, because he's going in the right direction. So, I have not come here to teach. I've come here to beg, because I'm on pilgrimage. And when you're on pilgrimage, you're depending on the mercy of the Lord and of all living entities. So I've come with a humble prayer that you please grant a little bit of your sukriti, a little bit of your credit that you have got with Radheshyam and Krishna Balaram, Gaur Nitai, because of your sincere devotional service. And you drop it here on the head of this fool, so that at some day we can also become humble and make a contribution to Srila Prabhupada's movement. This is our humble appeal. So at this point, I would like to ask for a few reflections. Something that you heard, that's stuck in your mind, that you're taking away from this class. That when you're walking out on this front street and somebody grabs you by the arm and asks you, "What did that guy talk in there?" You tell him that. Any reflections? We have a microphone here. You got to turn it on. Microphone has no power.
I think it's very difficult to bring someone back. It's a big task to bring someone back. But sometimes there's a small gap.
Okay. The reflection is that to get somebody to come back to Krishna consciousness is a big task. We think like that, but actually it's a small gap. What is that small gap? What's that missing link?
Yeah, small ego on our part or on his part.
Either false ego on our part or their part. So what's your reflection from this class? How to fill it?
We can ask them to come back.
Ask them. But that means you have to beg, right? But why would you beg him? Okay? But he's not chanting his rounds. Okay? Good. You see, if you beg, you can't put yourself in a superior position. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. If you beg, you have to put yourself in a lower position. Otherwise, you can't beg. Proud beggars, they go broke, People just, like... They don't, it doesn't work that way, You have to put yourself in a lower position. But that should not be too difficult, right? Every day we're chanting Trinadapi Sunichena, right? We're doing all the mudras and tantras and yantras and all the dandavats. So that missing link is the humility, that we can actually get it over our heart and we beg. We appreciate them. And we ask them. That's all it takes. Thank you. Other reflections? Yes, Mother Nirkula in the back.
Thank you for your inspiring class. When you spoke about the danger of having that entitlement mentality, that really struck me. I mean, once Raghunath Maharaj was telling my husband and myself that Jamuna had a conversation with him, saying that she also felt that was a very dangerous mentality. It would stunt or stop the growth of the Krishna consciousness movement, the feeling of entitlement. So, thank you for giving that.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Other reflections? Something that you're going to take away from here. Yes, just behind you, Prabhu.
The point which you told, that smarta mentality which we carry, it's so all pervading in our consciousness. We think that now I have become a brahmachari, so I deserve this. I deserve so much convenience or whatever is there. People should, devotee should care for me or something. But this mentality that we deserve something is so dangerous and cripples our devotion. So this point really stuck in my mind, and I feel very fortunate that I could get this point.
Thank you. Entitlement mentality cripples bhakti. It cripples devotion. Yes. Very important point to remember. We have one in the back. Few here. Yes.
Thank you very much for what this I like the most is wonderful level of intimacy. We need to have humility as well as service attitude, because everyone wants to have intimacy with their friends, their superiors, and everyone. But the point which is very important is the service attitude as well as humility, and that is the essence.
Thank you. You just move it back. There's a lot of hands.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Without humility, I don't think we can go for begging and we can ask for respect. So with humility only, we can develop that habit of begging for others. And begging for others, that is the highest form of worship, what I learned from this class.
Thank you.
I really, having been born into this movement and having, been named after Srila Prabhupada, I found myself drifting away. And in fact, I think I've been living in the US for too long. And it's patal road. And what I would like to take away from here is that when someone's trying to help you, listen. Like, it's as simple as that. Somebody is really your well-wisher out there. And if you don't listen, you're not helping yourself also. So Krishna might be sending you little messages, you just might not get them. I think I might be back.
Thank you. Just behind you.
One reflection that I at least personally want to take away is always keep a small book in your pocket. Generally, when I wrote Harinam, that time I distribute books, but otherwise I keep forgetting that. So it's a good reminder for myself that I keep small books.
Thank you. Always carry books. Yes, it's one of the laws of book distribution. Get books. Okay? Very good.
One more point that struck me was you said be generous to others and also give them a chance for devotional service. So it's also one of the things that
Thank you. Not sure if it's reaching. Hey Krishna.
Can I ask a small question?
No, we're just taking reflections. Any other? We have one in the back and one in the front, right? You have one? You can just pass it to the front. Just here, yeah.
Sometimes whenever you come to the temple, ISKCON, Vrindavan or some other district, I go to, I see many exalted devotees, senior devotees, and I myself very humble, very downtrodden. So whenever I see those devotees on a very exalted position, I want to have a little attention of them, just to connect them, just to have their blessing. So I find it very difficult to approach them. You can't even approach them, you can't even just
Is a reflection on the class?
So I think this happened because of this, this sense of entitlement reason. Sometimes I myself very miserable, very humble because I cannot approach because they are at a very high reason. So if they are accessible, I mean they are easy to approach, this makes us humble, even like me, very happy, very happy. Oh, this, I can just have something which can just give me the reason, this encouragement to move on. That, oh, I got the blessing of you. So.
Thank you. So when Krishna and Balaram, thank you for sharing your reflections. When Krishna and Balaram wanted to bless the wives of the Brahmins, they were playing and they felt hungry. So Krishna and Balaram sent the cowherd boys to go beg for food. But they were ignored by the Brahmins. So when they came back, Krishna said, don't be disappointed. Don't be disappointed when you go begging. It is to be expected that people will ignore you or refuse you. But Vishnu Chakravarti Pad says you must persevere. You have to continue with your endeavor and find a different way of trying to approach the person. So it's all there in our scripture. We'll leave you with one small story. We were in Toronto. We met an old lady. She was 85. She was having a push cart with a little puppy dog and some plants. So I showed her the Bhagavad Gita. She told me that when I was a teenager, I left Germany on a boat and I had to leave everything behind. I left with nothing. And I showed her the Gita and I said, this man, Prabhupada, he left when he was 70 years old and he had nothing. But he left his home in order to give. Prabhupada would criticize his countrymen. He said, you have all gone as beggars. You have all gone to get something. But I only went to give something. So the lady took the book. She gave me all the money that she had left after grocery shopping. And then she said, thank you, son. You have made my day. You know, when somebody says that and they mean it, it really makes your heart feel very full. And then I thought, thank you, Prabhupada, because you've made our life. Srila Prabhupada ke, Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ke, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasinduvyeva cha Patitana Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.